Good morning. Today continue your chapter The Enemy. Your next paragraph. Yummy would not wash him. She said. Did you wash him then? Thou asked, not stopping. For a moment, a swift, concise movement. Concise means short movement. Yes, she said. He did not seem to hear her, but she was used to his absorption. When he was at work, she wondered for a moment if it mattered to him, but was the body upon which he worked so long as it was for the work he did so excellently, so perfectly. Hannah told Sadao that Yami had refused to wash the injured man. Thou asked her that did she wash him. He did not stop cleaning him. He made fast small movement of his hands as he cleaned him carefully. Thou was engrossed in work, busy in work, and did not seem to hear Hannah. Hannah wondered that Thou was not bothered who the injured man was. He was only concerned in performing his duty well. Next paragraph. You will have to give the anesthetic if he needs it, he said. Anesthetic means a substance that include insensitivity to pain. Okay, unconscious. I say repeated blankly, but now have I. It is easy enough, he said impatiently. Impatiently means irritatively. He was taking out the packing now, and the blood began to move quickly. He peered into the wound with the bright surgeon's light fastened on his forehead. The bullet is still there, he said with cool interest. Now, I wondered how deep this rock wound is. If it is not too deep, it may that I can get the bullet, but the bleeding is not superficial. He has lost much blood. Superficial means existing or occurring at or on the surface. So thou told Hannah that she would have to inject the injured man with the substance that induces insensitivity to pain. Hannah replied that she had never done that earlier. So thou said in haste that it was very easy. So thou was removing the packing, and now the blood started flowing faster. He looked at the wound with the help of the bright surgeon's light fixed on his forehead. He announced that the bullet was inside in the body. He wondered that how deep the wound made by the rock. He said he said that if the wound was not very deep, then he could get the bullet out. He added that the bleeding was not from the surface of the skin, which meant that the wound was deep and the man had already lost a lot of blood. Next paragraph. At this moment, Hannah choked. He looked up and saw her face the color of sulfur. Her face color of sulfur means sulfur is a yellow colored element. The clause means that her face became pale yellowish in color. When Hannah saw Thou inspecting the wound, she could not see the side, and so she coughed. Thou looked at her and saw that her face was yellowish in color like the color of sulfur. Your next paragraph. Don't faint, he said sharply. He did not put down his exploring instrument. If I stop now, the man will surely die. She clapped her hands to her mouth and leaped up and ran out of the room. Outside in the garden, he heard her retreating. Retreating means vomiting. But he went on with his work. Thou reacted and ordered Hannah not to faint. He did not stop his work and continued. inspecting the wounds. Thou said that if he stopped, the injured man would certainly die. Hannah put both her hands on her mouth, jumped up, and ran out of the room. Thou heard her vomiting in the garden, but he continued with his work. It will be better for her to empty her stomach, he thought. He had forgotten that, of course, she had never seen in operation. But her distress and inability to go to her at once made him impatient and irritable with this man who lay like dead under his knife. As though needed Hannah helped to operate that man, he thought that it would be better for her to empty her stomach so that she would not feel uneasy time. And again he was reminded that Hannah was seeing an operation for the first time and it was not a pleasant thing. So thou was irritated and impatient as his wife was under stress and he was not able to help her. Due to the man who lay under his knife, he was just like a dead person. This man, he thought, there is no reason under heaven why he should live. So thou thought that there was no reason for him to make effort to save the man because there was no reason for him to live. Unconsequently, this thought made him ruthless, harsh, merciless, and he proceeded swiftly. In his dream, the man moaned. Moan means made low, soft sound due to pain. But thou paid no heed except to mutter at him. Thou became merciless and started working fast. The injured man moaned in his state of unconsciousness, but thou kept on working without paying attention to the man's pain. Groan, he muttered, groan if you like. I am not doing this for my own pleasure. In fact, I do not know why I am doing it. So thou said to the injured man that he was free to cry in pain. Moin mean free to cry in pain. So thou was not concerned that the man was in pain. He did not want to operate him and did not have any reason for doing so. Your next paragraph. The door opened and there was Hannah again. Where is the anesthetic? She asked in a clear voice, the motion with his chin. It is as well that you came back, he said. This fellow is beginning to stir, beginning to move. She had a bottle and some cotton in her hand. But how shall I do it? She asked. Simply saturate, means wet, the cotton and hold it near the nostril. Thou replied with delaying for one moment the intricate details of his work. When he breathes badly, move it away a little. Hannah entered the room and asked thou for the anesthetic. She had to administer to the injured man. His voice was clear, which showed that now she was prepared to help him. So thou moved his chin to guide her to the bottle of anesthetic. He added that it was good that she came as a man had started to gain consciousness and it was important to sedate him. Hannah held the bottle and some cotton in her hand. She asked what she was supposed to do. He told her to put some anesthetic on the cotton and to place the cotton near the man's nostril. He did not stop his delicate work and added that she should remove the cotton when the man started to breathe badly. Your next paragraph. Next, he held me at the side of the pool and had me. She crossed close to the sleeping face of the young American. It was piteously, means causing you to feel sad and sympathetic. Thin face, he thought, and the lips were twisted. The man was suffering whether he knew it or not. The man was suffering whether he knew it or not. Watching them, he wondered if the stories they heard sometimes of the suffering of prisoner were true. They came like the flicker of rumor told by word of mouth and always contradicted. In the newspaper, the reports were always that wherever the Japanese army when the people received them gladly with carries of joy at their liberation. But sometimes he remembered such men as General Takima, who at home beat his wife cruelly, though no one mentioned it now that he had fought so victorious a battle in Manchuria. If a man like that could be so cruel to a woman in his power, or would he not be cruel to one like this, for example? Hannah sat in a squat and went close to the face of the sleeping American man. She felt sad and sympathetic towards him as he saw his thin face and twisted lips. She knew that he was suffering, and she wondered whether the story that she had heard about the torture meted out to the prisoner were true. The stories were like rumors which spread when people told them to others. On the other hand, in the printed media like the newspaper, it was mentioned that the Japanese army was welcomed wherever it went and people praised it for their freedom. Hana recalled an officer of Japanese army, General Takima, who was cruel to his wife and would beat her. No one talked about it anymore as he had won the war in Manchuria. Hana thought that if a man could be cruel towards his wife, then he could also be cruel to the prisoner in his captivity. Your next paragraph. She hoped anxiously that this young man had not been tortured. It was at this moment that she observed deep red scars in his neck just under the ear. Scar means marks, and Hannah hoped that the man had not been tortured by the army. Just then she saw deep red colored marks on his neck under the ear. Okay,